Hi, everyone, and welcome to our TrailNation Spotlight webinar. This is a new series hosted by Rails to Trails Conservancy to highlight innovative trail network development across the country and foster peer-to-peer learning. This month, we're heading to East Arkansas to explore the Delta Heritage Trail. My name is Cass Marburger, and I am the Director of Communications here at RTC. I'll be moderating this session. To start today's session, we will hear from Liz Thorstensen, RTC's Vice President of Trail Development, who will preview the upcoming TrailNation Summit, which is a unique gathering designed to inspire collaboration and accelerate trail progress nationwide. We are also excited to be joined by Becky Flynn, Deputy Director of the Arkansas Office of Outdoor Recreation. And in this role, she works across the state to strengthen Arkansas's outdoor economy by collaborating with community and industry partners, ranging from local government to outdoor recreation businesses. Becky will share insights into the Delta Heritage Trail and how it's helping to create a more connected, economically prosperous community. This webinar is the second in our new series for the TrailNation Summit, and we hope you'll join us in Cleveland, Ohio, this October 27th to 29th for the summit. I'm going to turn it over to Liz to tell us a little more about what we can expect.
Thanks, Cass. So happy that you all are here. I see some names that I know, and thanks to all the new people joining us. We're happy to have you. Before I jump in to tell you a little bit about the TrailNation Summit and our masterclasses, I love starting with a poll, and I'd love to pull that poll up, and I'd love to get your take on, as many of you are leading and championing trail networks, we'd love to hear from you as you attend these webinars or as you look forward to attending the TrailNation Summit in Cleveland in October. What is the number one topic you are looking to learn more about? So we're going to launch that poll and have you pick your choice. We have some choices up there for you. I see it now on the screen. So what topic are you most interested in learning more about to support your trail network? You can only pick your top one. So we'll give folks a few seconds to decide. I know there's a lot of good choices here. I have my theories on what maybe folks' top choice will be, but we'll see where you all land. Okay. And then to our crew on the back end, am I able to see the results come up? All right. Thank you. Okay, so we've got the number one from this crowd. We've got 21% for planning and design. We've got 18% for measuring and communicating impact. I think that is a really important growing topic. Funding and policy also at 18%. That's always a popular one. How are you going to pay for it? And advocacy and building support at 15%. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much. That is super, super helpful to see how you guys responded. Oh, and I left one out at the bottom, not to forget trail tourism and economic development, also at 15%. I think that's also a really important growing topic and one we're going to cover at the TrailNation Summit. So thanks for indulging me in filling that out. We appreciate that. We take those results really seriously. So appreciate getting your pulse on that. But I want to give you a preview. We're going to have our TrailNation Summit in Cleveland, Ohio. It's going to take place October 27, 28, 29th. I see some of you on the attendee list today are already registered and hoping, if you're not and you're thinking about it, that you'll do so after you hear from us today. So I want to tell you about our master classes today, and it's really something new that we're doing. It's meant to really transform how you approach trail development. It's going to go beyond the traditional training. It's immersive, collaborative, and build to spark real change. So whether you're working in a rural town, a suburban corridor, or an urban center, this is going to help you with tools, inspiration, and a community of peers ready to move forward with you. So what is it? It's not a lecture. It's not a webinar. It's not someone just talking at you. You're going to get to engage directly with experts in their field. You're going to do interactive, hands-on problem solving. You're going to do practical exercises with your peers. And each session is led by a few different seasoned leaders who are going to help you navigate the complexities of trails as economic engines, overcoming obstacles to trails, um, mapping, advocacy, and also engaging end users. So those are the four topics that we're teeing up for the master classes. And we're going to have case studies. We're going to have leaders representing different case studies from across the country. They're going to explain their story, how they overcame challenges, and how they got to where they are today. That can help you think through maybe how you do this. And we're going to have cohort-based collaboration. So participants are going to be in rural, suburban, or urban cohorts as part of the master classes. And what we're hoping is that this is really going to foster peer learning and shared problem solving. And so you're going to move through these master classes with your cohort. You're going to get to know people over the 2.5 days. And the goal is that you'll have this network of support that is going to last you well beyond these 2 days. But you'll have this group of peers you can call on who are in similar situations to the communities and the work and the challenges that you're dealing with. And the goal is to walk away with tailored strategies and action tools that reflect what you can do when you walk out of this summit. So if you're going in with a particular challenge or opportunity, you are going to walk out of each masterclass with your to-do list of items and steps and people you want to reach out to, so you can take action as soon as you get back to work. And so it's really designed to challenge assumptions, broaden your horizons. It's not going to be the kind of session where you can kind of tune out and get your work done in the back. It's really meant to engage you the entire time in a really new and innovative way. So we hope that you'll leave with a renewed sense of possibility and inspiration and really specific steps that you can take home and lead your work with. So we're super excited, happy to answer any questions at the end of the day. But today I'll move it over to Cass, who's going to lead us through the rest of the webinar. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Liz. There's so much to look forward to, and we will get another taste of the summit in next month's Spotlight. But for now, Becky, I would love to kick off this conversation with you. Could you start by telling us all a little bit about your role and maybe some context on the trail?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And I think it's just such a pleasure to be here talking about the Delta Heritage Trail, and all came out of a conversation that Cass and I had weeks ago just about the trail and keeping you guys updated on the progress. And so my name is Becky Flynn, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Arkansas Office of Outdoor Recreation. So our office, our state's Office of Outdoor Rec, is located within our agency's Department of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism. So we work very closely with all 52 Arkansas state parks, our Division of Heritage, and our state's tourism agency. And so we are just situated right in there with all of those folks, keeping outdoor recreation top of mind and making sure that the outdoor rec economy and outdoor recreation projects across the state, infrastructure development, are a priority across all of those different verticals. And so our office is right there within everything happening with the Delta Heritage Trail, which is a state park. And we can go into a little bit more about the Delta Heritage Trail. I think there's maybe a slide about this. Oh, wait, no, Arkansas Office of Outdoor Rec. I went too fast. Okay, so just a little bit about who we are. So in Arkansas, outdoor recreation contributes $4.5 billion to the state's GDP. That's about 2.5%. And there's over 40,000 jobs in Arkansas within the outdoor recreation economy. And as I mentioned, we're within Parks, Heritage, and Tourism. So we connect communities with resources, we create partnerships, we grow the Arkansas outdoor economy, and promote Arkansas as the top place in the United States to come for outdoor recreation. So we stay busy doing all of those things. And then now we can talk about the Delta Heritage Trail.
Yes, I want to hear about the state park designation.
Yes, perfect. Okay, so Delta Heritage Trail is a Rails to Trails corridor within the Arkansas Delta. So you can see on the map here that the trail is right along the eastern border of Arkansas. So that's Mississippi is just to the east or to the right if you read maps like I do. And so it's the 85 miles of Rails to Trails through the Delta, and it's levee, our little bit of Mississippi River levee there, and then most of it is just incredible crushed Arkansas gravel. And the project has been in the work for multiple decades, over 30 years. It was a donation from Union Pacific to Arkansas State Parks in 1992 as part of the Rails to Trails initiative. And so that came directly to Arkansas State Parks, and a master plan was created in the 90s. And then the first section was open to the public in 2002. So truly, construction has been underway for 20 plus years. We have sections of the trail that are over 20 years old now, and we're starting to do maintenance work on that and repairs and continuing construction. The 85 miles is not yet complete. We talk about it as being like an interstate highway. Like you finish all the easy stuff first. So that's in green. That's everything that's finished. And then the last little bits and pieces are bridges through truly remote, amazing landscapes. We've got bottomland hardwood forests, we've got wetlands, we've got bayous and wildlife management areas and refuges, really amazing places to view wildlife. And you ride the trail and you're underneath shaded tunnels of incredible trees that you can't find anywhere else, and bird watching. So it's a great place, a diverse landscape. And it's also that region, the Arkansas Delta is known for its heritage and its culture and music and food and just history. So you see that all along the trail, and that's part of why it's a state park, because of how rich that area of our state is in history, culture, food, beverage, fun, music, but some really tough history as well. So we tell that story interpretively across the trail.
Yeah, how is the trail incorporating all of the history and culture?
Yes, so that has been a priority since day one. You can see here we've got some photos of what the trail looks like. And so the top right is one of those bridges I mentioned. This is actually while it was under construction. So this one's finished now. It's got real barriers along the side of it. But yeah, so that goes right across the Arkansas River. And so there's multiple different pathways there, but we're incorporating the local heritage through our interpretation along the trail. And with it being a state park, our interpretive services team is really dug into the history of the area. So you can see in the structures in yellow here at the trailhead. So obviously Rails to Trails. So did a lot of research on the history of the folks that came through on the trains here in this region, who those people were, what the story was, what the culture was. And so even down to, you can see on the bottom left the interpretive signage that's there. So it tells a little bit about who was traveling and when, and great floods and big things that affected that region, that made it what it is today, and really formed the river and the lifestyle and the agriculture that sit right around the trail. But even down to details like the color of the stations. I mean, this was history that was found, that this is the color that the train stations used to be. So really a nod to that history and culture of the region, to be able to say we're going to carry this through to the next generation of people that are passing through. And maybe it's not on a train, maybe it's on a bike or their feet or whatever that looks like. But yeah, so to be able to tell that story in a really unique way is a priority of state parks as we move towards the full opening. So I mentioned that we're still under construction, but we've got people riding the 82 miles that are finished already. And so making sure we have a really robust program for them to appreciate and incorporate is a priority. We're seeing people ride it every day. I was just there yesterday. In fact, our office is located in Central Arkansas in Little Rock. And so it's about 2 hours from any point on the trail, but we go visit all the time. And I was talking to a local store owner, and he was like, Miss Becky, we had four riders come through yesterday, and last week I talked to some folks from New York City, and it's fun to talk to local people about the folks they see come through and learn the history of the area and really appreciate the wildlife that they can't see anywhere else, and the landscape that is unique truly to the Arkansas Delta.
That is so amazing. And I
Yeah.
am just deeply obsessed with the level of detail in the paint color and all of those things. That's just like so fun. I would love to hear a little bit more about the public, private, or cross-sector partnerships that made this project possible. And if you could just talk a little bit about the funding, like the type of grants you've received or future funding you're looking at.
Absolutely. So I mentioned that it's in Arkansas State Parks, and we're really fortunate in the natural state that state parks are a priority statewide, from the administration to all throughout government. All of our Arkansans are really proud of our state parks. And so it's actually, the state park system receives 1/8 of 1% of all sales tax in the state, directly to state parks. So that contributes to land acquisition, that contributes to conservation, but also to infrastructure development. As you look at trail development, or campsite development, things like that within the state parks. And so there's funding that comes through that for capital improvement projects. And so I mentioned that the trail it's been in the works for 20 plus years in construction. And so it's something that the state parks have invested in, kind of piecemealed together, because it's been a priority, but it's a big project. I mean, 85 miles is a long trail for a state park, and it's an interesting footprint that it goes. It's all of our state parks are broad, and there's different areas of them, but this is just the line of the trail is the only state park. And so it's been piece by piece as we've had funding for those capital improvement projects, and put together different sections of the trail. And so we're connecting the dots one by one. And then in 2021, the state parks received a Department of Transportation RAISE grant. So that was a $20 million grant to finish out the big expensive pieces that I mentioned, the bridges, the larger projects that would connect the north end of the trail to the south end of the trail. So received some federal funding for that, as well as a public-private partnership. And so here within Arkansas, the Walton Family Foundation matched that RAISE grant. So we've got a really great collaborative partnership with the Family Foundation. East Arkansas, specifically Phillips County, is a huge priority for the Family Foundation and funding. And so looking at community development, and a lot went into that RAISE grant as well, with economic development opportunities, but really creating health and wellness and connectivity for the region. And so we've seen success in being able to move some funding for capital improvement just within state parks in Arkansas. And again, that being codified into law within the Arkansas Constitution, that's received. But then also that public-private partnership. And it takes a long time to build those partnerships, but it's so beneficial to the final product and the story, and how well we're able to connect with communities in the region.
I love that. And when it comes to connecting with some of the communities along the region, I'm wondering about the types of economic impacts you've seen or what's forecasted. I know you just mentioned people seeing visitors from New York City along the trail. It's amazing.
It is. No, it's exciting. And we have done, as part of some grants and preparation for, it's a big investment, right? I mean, it's dozens of millions of dollars, public dollars, private dollars. And so as part of that, some research has been done on what is the economic impact, but what could it be? And so in 2019, an economic impact analysis was done on potential for what that investment would look like, but then kind of what that could mean for regionally for the communities around the trail. And so considering so the folks that did the economic impact analysis, we contracted it, but they looked at what they called aspirational trails, right? So other Rails to Trails projects across the US that are finished or that are significant distances, and evaluated trail usage. And so how many folks are visiting those trails? Where are they visiting from? How long are they staying? And how much money are they spending in local communities? And so based on that data, it could be, upwards of $13 million of impact regionally, and that's transportation impact. So with the idea of seeing folks ride to work or to doctor's appointments or to, the grocery store. So the idea of transportation benefits, but obviously environmental, health and wellness, and of course, spending money at local establishments. And so that's really where our office comes into play as the Office of Outdoor Recreation, is ensuring that we're considering the economic impact of the trail and what that can mean for, the local convenience store or hardware store or antique shop or place to grab a burger and a beer after a long ride. And so thinking through making sure that we have those establishments for people to visit as trail amenities, but also those are the folks that are going to see the impacts on their bottom lines and have big days at the cash register drawer when big groups come through and things like that. So making sure that we're aligned on that to actually see that economic impact, that projection come to fruition. And so one of the things, and if I'm so sorry if you'll go back one more, one of the things that we also consider there is the investment in trail construction in the local economy. And so with this, we've had crews on the ground there in the Delta constructing this trail for a long time. And those folks are staying locally and they're spending their money locally. And each year we look at the Bureau of Economic Analysis data, the BEA data that comes out every year about the outdoor recreation satellite account. And so we look at that in Arkansas to track where our economy, our outdoor economy is trending over time. And in the most recent BEA data release, we're number one in growth for outdoor recreation construction. And so that is exciting for us to be number one in that. And I think you see it's a testament to projects like the Delta Heritage Trail, where we're saying this is a priority for the state. We're going to build this really incredible infrastructure. And so for Arkansas to be number one, it's a testament to investment in things like this and in truly large outdoor recreation projects. And then, okay, now we're ready for the next slide. And then back to the economic impact of it all. So we have within Arkansas an initiative called the Natural State Initiative. And that was started by our governor, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, to look at the outdoor recreation economy in ways that we can continue advancing that economy. So we track it every year and we want to see that trend continuing to increase. And so one of the things that the Natural State Initiative has done is create what we call opportunity zones. And so those are around 4 state parks where we're seeing significant investment. So if you're looking at this map of Arkansas here, you can see on the east side, on the right side, the Delta Heritage Trail is one of those 4 state parks where we see an opportunity zone. And so this isn't your traditional economic opportunity zone that's known in like the economic development world, but it is an opportunity for businesses around state parks to get income tax credits, sales tax credits, promotional opportunities in partnership with Arkansas State Parks and our state's Economic Development Commission. And so this is passed through legislation in Arkansas that these tax credits, income tax, sales tax, use tax for businesses that are contributing and investing in amenities around the trail. And then there's 3 other state parks where we're spending significant dollars in infrastructure as well. And so that's, again, where our office comes in and says, okay, as folks are visiting this trail, we need to make sure there's places for them to stay. There's opportunities for them to buy food and beverage and clothing or rent bikes or get their bikes maintenance. And so as we're having conversations in the extremely rural, traditionally underserved areas of our state where there's just so much potential and excitement about this trail, we're able to say, here's where there's true opportunity and entrepreneurship, and here's how the state can help. And so one thing that we're doing to advance this is we put a packet together, a business development packet that highlights, of course, information about the trail itself, but also trends in outdoor recreation participation in Arkansas and how to start a business and information about the opportunity zone, contact information for chambers and the Economic Development Commission and entrepreneur support organizations and our office. And so truly try to put all the resources in one place that we can share with business owners or potential business owners along the trail to try to decrease that barrier to entry in the business owner space. Because as great as it is for trail amenities and guests, because we want them to have an incredible experience at the Delta Heritage Trail, but also to continue advancing the businesses and communities surrounding that trail.
That is amazing. Love the packet. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But like the feedback loop though. So you're spurring this, but then how do the local businesses or residents, how do they become involved in shaping what the trail development looks like or what the trail use is?
Great question. So from the beginning, it's a priority to involve, of course, the local community. I mentioned that, our office is here in Little Rock, but we've got park staff on the ground along the trail and multiple state parks in that region of the state. But one thing that we have worked really hard on is engaging the local communities. And so I mentioned Arkansas Economic Development Commission. They've got some regional folks that are really all about community development. And so I mentioned I went to the trail yesterday and all of the economic development folks were there, and the tourism division. This is a huge priority for them on telling the story of the trail and promoting it. And of course, our DNR, Arkansas Game and Fish Commission, they've got some wildlife management areas, and it's a huge hunting area, a very traditional place for hunting and fishing in Arkansas. And so at the state level, we're able to coordinate really closely with all of those agencies. And Arkansas is a really great space to be able to do that, because I can just pick up the phone and call Game and Fish and say, hey, I'm headed down there. Or, well, here's an example. So there's a lake right beside Delta Heritage Trail. So it's like you can see it from the trail. You can be riding your bike and you're like, oh, there's Old Town Lake right there. And there's not anywhere to get a kayak. There's not any outfitters or anything like that. And so something that State Parks has done over the past few years is get what we call them kayak vending machines, but it's Whenever Water Sports is the folks that we use for it. But you can go in and put your card in, rent a kayak, the kayak and helmet and paddle pop out, and you can kayak and then return it when you're done. And so I was like, I wonder, so the lake beside the trail is a Game and Fish lake. And so I was like, I wonder if Game and Fish would have any interest in this. So I picked up the phone and I called Game and Fish and I was like, can we collaborate on this? We need a place for folks to be able to kayak if, maybe they ride their bike to Old Town Lake and then they go over to the Game and Fish lake and they kayak and then they get back on their bike. So we're in conversations about that. But it's just the nature of that state collaboration that we don't take for granted, but we do prioritize that because we know that creates better results for our communities. And then, of course, promotion of the opportunity zone, but also the trail itself. One thing I mentioned was that the master plan that happened almost 30 years ago, the project's been in progress for decades. And I think a lot of community members, rightly so, were like, oh, we'll believe it when we see it. And I think we're all a little bit like that, not about this project, but anything. It's like, yeah, we'll believe it when we see it. But to be able to say, we're really close with the construction and here's what it can mean for your community based on data and based on, information and passion from the state level and community level. So to talk at local meetings with groups, chamber groups, with organizations that are nonprofits within the area, and really connecting with them and the stakeholders that they serve to be able to bring folks together and learn about what this project can mean for them. But we want we want the folks there to be owners of the trail and the community that it's building. So there's also some colleges and universities that have some interpretive information and heritage sites along the trail that we've engaged. So it truly is grassroots to grass tops, able to engage all of the communities in the trail, but also what they want it to be and how it best serves those communities. So there's walking groups that have been created. There's something called the Helena Miles Club, and they just get out and get miles. And whether that's bike miles or kayak miles or, just walking or pushing strollers. And so making sure we're encouraging and supporting groups as they create cohesion around the trail.
I didn't know I needed a kayak vending machine in my life.
You
But
do.
now I do. I really do. All of this kind of leads into how you're promoting the trail as a destination, both for people outside of Arkansas, but also within Arkansas. And so I'm wondering what type of strategies you use or you look at for either tourism or different types of market segmentation. What does that look like?
Yes, great question. So that's kind of where we are right now, right? It's like, okay, we have the infrastructure, we have the trail, we're getting the communities involved. Let's get some people here. And so we're not waiting until it's completely finished to activate the trail. We're starting to promote that. And so one thing we've been discussing with our communications and advertising and PR folks is, well, who's our audience? Like we have this trail, but who's the audience? And so if you think about, 84 and a half miles and you think, okay, there's going to be people that ride the whole thing in one day. They get on the trail at the south end and they ride 85 miles and then they're done and maybe they spend the night and drive back the next day. But then there's also going to be people so those are your hardcore gravel cyclists. And that's it. We know that that's a growing segment of our recreation population. And so our hardcore folks, and I just feel like you could find me in the hospital if I rode all 85 miles in one day, especially or in like this weird heat bubble right now. And so it's like 112 degrees and I'm like, absolutely not. But there are folks that's what they love to do. And we love them to do that. So that is one segment of the market, I think, that we're going to need to appeal to. But then there's also the folks that are going to want to ride 6 miles and then stop and read some interpretive signage or, scan a QR code and hear about the local birds or there's a Japanese internment camp that was along the trail. So read the history or hear George Takei talk about that and the interpretation. So there's some really cool interpretation along the trail. So thinking through our different audience segments and who they are and where they're coming from. So I mentioned partnerships earlier. So one partnership that we really value within the state is with the Arkansas Small Business and Technology Development Center. So that's ASBTDC is their acronym. But it's a really great organization here in the state that we refer a lot of business owners and potential business owners to as we're talking to. Our office works with businesses, everything from startups to, even ideas on the back of a napkin, things that don't exist yet. So we'll send them to ASBTDC for, business market analysis or for advice or research, business planning. And then we work with bike shops, boat manufacturers, fishing guides, river outfitters. Remington Firearms is our largest outdoor industry partner in the state. So there's a whole gambit of industry partners and what they look like, but a lot of work that we do is on the industry side and the business development side. So one partner that's been very valuable is ASBTDC, and they offer free services and advice to business owners and potential entrepreneurs. But we've been in talks with them about the trail and defining the key target audiences and how we really ensure that our marketing and promotion sees a good ROI. So what they're doing for us is what they would do for a business, right? So they look at market analysis for the area and they say, okay, based on geography, so we're in East Arkansas, based on geography, here's where folks might be coming from, right? So they might be coming from Memphis, or they might be coming from Shreveport or Dallas or wherever it is. So they'll look at geography, how people are going to be getting there and where they're coming from. But then they'll also look at demographics, what these folks' affinities are for outdoor recreation. And so looking at just lots and lots of data and compiling that into here's who maybe your hardcore recreators are going to be and where they're coming from. And here's who your more leisurely state parks traditional interpretive visitor might be coming from, or families that want to spend a week doing guided kayak trips and riding the trail. So they're looking at that market analysis and that geographic pool, demographics, and who those people might be that are coming to the trail. So then we'll know who our audience is and where to market to them. And then in addition to that, so they'll identify those geographies and those visitors, but also what those people like to do. And so we know that if somebody rides 85 miles, they're going to want a giant burger and a nice cold beer when they get off the trail. And so where do those businesses exist? And looking at some asset mapping and seeing what we have already along the trail, but what might be the demand, the market demand based on that analysis. How many more restaurants do we need? How many more antique shops can we support? What about bike rentals? So looking at the types of people that are coming will then inform the types of businesses that could be really successful along the trail. And so they'll be coming up with some ideas for things that we know are traditionally align well. So, your outfitters, your guides, your service providers, any other creative ideas that they come up with based on the demographics and data. But looking at that, and then also looking at ways that the state can truly lean in and support those businesses. So lots of research and data, which I love. I'm a big research and data person, but that's what we're investing in right now, is making sure that our promotions really land well, and that we're also considering the right things on the business end.
It sounds like a lot of anticipating the needs of a really, really diverse set of users, communities, and business owners. That's fantastic.
It truly is. And it's a challenge too. And I think anyone that works on a trail that's 85 miles or 185 miles will understand that it's very different communities along the trail and very different regionally, geographically. So folks that may visit the north end may be a different segment than the south end, or in the middle. So there's a lot of research going on right now.
To that, what type of advice would you give to other people who are pursuing really large scale trail projects in rural areas?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I would think about who needs to be at the table. Getting the right stakeholders at the table is key, and it has been key for us for this project and lots of other projects. Our office travels the state and talks to different community mayors, county judges, chambers of commerce, business leaders in the community, just folks that are really passionate about it, nonprofit organizations. And every single project that we've seen be successful have the right people at the table. And I know that's of course, duh answer, but really it makes such a difference to just get in the community, find a champion. You can start with one. It doesn't have to be the perfect group from the beginning. Talk to the mayor, talk to a business owner who knows the mayor. And that's been really our foot in the door, is starting slow. And these things take time. And you think about, the time it takes to build those relationships and those trusted relationships. There's cities along the trail that I just picked up the phone and called the mayor, or I talked to the chamber and I was like, hey, can you connect me? And so that led to the county judge, that led to the county sheriff, that led to the investor that has the funding to pay for the signage in the town. And yesterday we're all sitting around the table talking about an event, and a huge cycling event would not have been even possible a year ago because we didn't even know who to talk to in town. And so really it's just, I would encourage a long game approach, because it takes a while, but then also the getting the right people at the table. And another thing to consider is the data and the impact in presenting that in a way that's really accessible. So it doesn't even have to be data about that specific trail or area. There's a ton of information online that's, economic impact, community development impact of trails. And I think probably everybody on this call has seen that, right? Like we all know the importance and the impact and the opportunity, but not all the communities do. And so leveraging the opportunity to have conversations with those folks I just mentioned, going to speak at a chamber meeting or going to talk to the mayor and the judge about that is an opportunity to say, hey, did you know about this? Or here's a little presentation we can walk through, and you can see the true potential that this trail can have. We go present at the rural development conference in our state every year to talk about outdoor recreation and its economic impact. And I mean, reports are continuing to come out about mountain biking or trail visitors or things like, and how much money they're spending in community. And you see like rural communities, the eyes light up and they're like, oh my gosh, this means dollar signs. And this means investment in schools and local water infrastructure and things like that. So as much as we all know the case for support of trails and things like that, it's like communicating that is our job too. And so remembering that we need to make that information really well understood by our audiences and keeping that top of mind and reminding ourselves about that.
Such a good reminder that sometimes our ordinary is our audience's extraordinary, I think is how the phrase goes. I love that. I think that makes a lot of sense for us to keep in mind.
And also on that too, sorry, one more thing about that is, the ordinary and extraordinary. Sometimes our audience is ordinary. So the infrastructure that our communities have, they see it every day. And so talking to people in the Arkansas Delta, it's hard to, I'm from Arkansas. My family is from the Delta. Like, it's hard to explain to us why someone from New York would want to come visit, or why somebody from Germany. We've had people from Germany come visit, and it's like, why would you want to see a cotton field? And you're like, but seeing a cotton field in bloom during harvest, while you're riding through bottomland forest and you see a gator the size of your car, like that's a special experience. And so communicating that the infrastructure, like what you have already can be used. Arkansas is home to probably millions of miles of gravel trail, and we're seeing gravel cycling explode. And so figuring out, all right, you have this you don't need to build a trail. Maybe you make a route, and maybe you create a hub, and you put some signs up and put it online and GPS track it, and you have a route, and then you can promote it. And so having conversations with communities too about ways that they can leverage their existing infrastructure is something that we've seen be really, really powerful.
Amazing. And such good reminders. Thank you. I want to make sure we have time to add in some questions from our audience. And if you have any questions, remember, please just drop them in the Q&A box. All right, our first question is regarding partnerships. It sounds like there are a lot of partners involved in the trail. What staffing structure is in place to oversee and manage the trail? Is there an MOU in place to help guide the trail management and maintenance?
Great question. Great question. So, the trail itself is managed, maintained, enforced by Arkansas State Parks. And so there's a park superintendent, assistant superintendent, there's maintenance staff. So all of those people it's fully staffed by Arkansas State Parks. And then our Office of Outdoor Recreation, while it's not under state parks, are in the same agency. And so lots of collaboration between myself and the parks team there. And then for community involvement, it's basically all of us, a joint effort on communicating with the communities, making sure they're in the know on that. But that is one thing that we're moving toward, is convening all of the communities along the trail in 2026 and creating an MOU of what that network looks like.
The next question is regarding trail-oriented development. Did you provide loans and/or business training to support the startup or expansion of trail town businesses for trail services?
We have not. That it does come back to some of those the Natural State Initiative Opportunity Zones. So that's what we're leaning into, is some of those incentives on the state level. But we're also in conversations with local nonprofit organizations that are those ESOs, those entrepreneur support organizations, who are collaborating with lenders, traditional and non-traditional lenders, CDFIs, folks that are in the communities that can create some of those more accessible capital investment opportunities. And then there's a organization in the state called the Greenhouse Outdoor Recreation Program, or GORP for short. But their whole mission is to advance outdoor recreation entrepreneurs. So connect them with funding, connect them with business planning. And so most of what we've done is connecting resources and information, but with the understanding that there is a need for some of that capital investment.
All right. I know we are getting close to our time here, so I want to make sure we get to hear from you on what's next.
Ooh, okay. We have a couple of things we're working on. And I mentioned that promotion is big for us right now. So we've been developing some content. There might be a slide about this, I can't remember, but our priority, right now, is to get some really high quality photos and videos that we can use to tell the story. So we've been contracting with our marketing and PR firm to do that, to create itineraries. So one thing we talk about all the time is, it's like, all of these really amazing opportunities exist in Arkansas, but we want to make it easy for folks to know where to go. So we're developing itineraries. So if you start at the north end of the trail and you want to spend 3 days, here's what you can do for 3 days. Here's where you can stop and get food. Here's a butterfly exhibit, or, whatever it is that we're directing people to, but saying, okay, you can stay here in this lodging, you can visit this Delta Cultural Center, you can stop and learn about Roar, the Japanese internment camp. Like, there's all sorts of things that we can create into an itinerary. So that's what we're developing next, is what families can do, what your hardcore recreators can do, as we're appealing to those different audiences. And then big for us right now is wayfinding and signage. So we're developing a comprehensive signage package. And, for 85 miles, that's not easy, especially when you have signage from 2002 and signage from 2010 and signage from 2020. And so it's like, our branding looked very different all of those years, and we're getting on the same page about making sure it feels like a really comprehensive experience from end of trail to end of trail. But not only, mile marker signs, but of course your traditional, let's get folks off the trail. Let's make sure they know where they can stop at a convenience store and talk to somebody or buy a Gatorade. So ensuring that we have signage about wayfinding and interpretation and telling the story of the Delta, and also spending their money in the Delta. They're also next for us. There's another thing that we're working on, is activation of the trail. And events and programming, as we all know, are great at getting people to a trail. So we are, kind of remote in the Delta. And I think we're going to have your traditional state park visitor, but also events are huge in our state for getting people places that they may not otherwise travel. So one event is called the Arkansas Graveler, and it connects different regions of the state, and it's a big gravel race every year. So it's usually 5 days, 5 or 6 days, seeing different cool parts of Arkansas. Next year, it's headed to the Delta. They'll do a preview of that this fall, and then it'll happen next fall during harvest. There's a blues festival. There's all kinds of really cool stuff happening around the same time. So I'm looking at doing that, and then bring in some industry partners for a VIP experience to see how cool it can be, and incorporate food and beverage and music into that, so it looks and feels and tastes and sounds like the Delta, so that we're telling that story to, bike shops in target markets, and manufacturers in target markets, and leaders in the community, and making sure we're bringing in influencers to tell that story. So investing in some of that more on the ground marketing, and also thinking through different activities. It's truly a multi-use trail. So thinking about folks that may be coming to do bird watching somewhere where they're going to see a bird that they couldn't see anywhere else, or, looking for that alligator that's the size of their car or whatever it is. Hopefully they see it from the bridge, and it's just like down in the water and can't find them. But just thinking through different opportunities to get different segments and user groups. Maybe it's a 5K on part of the trail, or a walk fun run for a family, or dog walk or something like that. So activations and events are next for us, and we've got the ball rolling on a lot of those ideas.
They all sound so fun. I'm curious.
We think so.
We have a question from Liz. It is, are there any mayors who you've had to convince that trail tourism is a good idea? And if so, how were they convinced?
Yes. So, it's funny. I feel like we've seen a shift in that, even statewide. I think there probably used to be the thing that's like, we have all these other things to invest in, and I don't know if this is a priority. And now I mean this when I say we go to communities and the mayors will look us in the eye and say, how do we get trails? And it's truly our most in demand outdoor recreation infrastructure is trails. And we make the case as often as possible as every single opportunity we have to talk about outdoor recreation and connectivity, especially trails, to get people to visit for that. Every single time we can, we do. And so now truly we visit communities, and, there's some folks still on the fence, and we just have a lot of data and information to back it up, and really enjoy presenting that and having that conversation. And back to, what existing infrastructure do you have? And this doesn't have to be hard. And here's grants for it. And here's who to call for it. And here's 6 trail builders in Arkansas that you can pick up the phone and they can come tell you a good route and how much it'll cost and help you with a grant application. So being able to make it really easy for mayors has been helpful. So to make that case, but then, and of course, we all know that's attraction of talent, it's retention of families, and relocating people. It's 2025, folks can work from anywhere. So making that case, but then also our office gives out about $10 million in grants every year. So connecting people with grants and opportunities. So that's been a really fun conversation to have for these communities. That's a great question, Liz.
All right. We have a few more questions that we don't have time for. Becky, would you be okay if we drop your email in the chat so people can reach you? Excellent.
Please.
All right. And with that, we can wrap up this webinar. I am so grateful to you for being here. Thank you to you so much, and to Liz, and then to all of our attendees. We really appreciate your time and the phenomenal questions, and I hope I see you at our next webinar.